Hello and welcome to my country garden. We're on the last Sunday in February. The weather's pretty miserable outside, so I'm snuggled up indoors and my sights are turning to sowing herbs. I've got 8 herbs that I'm going to be sowing today and I'll take you through those. Some of them are more standard herbs, I would say, and there's a couple that you may not have already considered for sowing yourselves. So let me take you through those. But first of all, since I'm indoors, I thought it would be an ideal opportunity to give you an update on the things that I have sown so far this month. So I actually bought myself a new little grow house for putting my grow lights in and bringing on my seedlings indoors. I'm fortunate in that I've got a bit of space for it. This is where the Christmas tree normally goes at Christmas. So the Christmas tree was packed away and then shortly after this was positioned and the grow lights attached. So there's actually grow lights on each of the 4 levels. So I've got 4 shelves that I can grow seedlings on in. This particular grow house is on wheels actually, so it's easy to move around if I need to sort of clean in behind it or just to move it out the way for anything. And I've put the plastic cover on, not because of course it's raining in the living room, but because at night, once the lights are switched off, I can actually zip it all up and stop the little critters, i.e. my pussycats, going in and munching on the seedlings or in fact lying on the seedlings. So that's why I've got the plastic cover on, but I do leave the plastic cover open when during the day when we're around, just so that it doesn't get too hot in there. And I would worry about the heat generated in the plastic there, so I wouldn't leave it alone with the plastic door shut on the grow house. So sorry about the colours. The 2 bottom grow lights are the sort of cheap and cheerful ones, and you can see you're getting a nice purple glow there. But let me just show you the seedlings that we have here. Right, in the top row here we have got mostly chili peppers and a few, I think 3 tangerine dream sweet peppers. And I also have, I've just put this in today, I sowed another lot of chili and sweet peppers and had a rubbish germination. Can you see that? Probably not, because it's not very light. Let's do that. So I've actually just got 1 of these chili peppers and 1 of the sweet peppers there. So I've re-sown to hopefully get some more, but I've popped these just under the grow light now that they've come up. I don't think anything else is going to come up in there, but we'll see. So yeah, a whole little variety of chili peppers and some sweet peppers on that front row. In the second row here, we're looking at flowers. So I've got lots of little baby dragons, baby snapdragons, and most of these were sent to me by the lovely Robin at Robin Gardens. So Robin is over in Chicago. So she sent me lots of snapdragons, so they're in here. And then here we have some daisies and some, what are these? Oh, these are some poppies. These are some of my own saved seed poppies. These are called Love Affair. So the Love Affair poppies, they were just sprinkled on the surface of the compost, whereas the other things have, the seeds were covered a little bit. So that's my first sowings of these things anyway. And then if we move down, it might look a bit purple in here because of these lights. We've got some more onions. These onions are exhibition. I had great success with exhibition last year. Let me bring them out. And you can see the exhibition onions. And then I have my first snapdragons that I've been able to take out of the small cell trays and put into their own little pots. And this is a fail. This is an agapanthus. No, it's not. It's an astrantia. I can't read. And we did give it some cold, and then which the seeds like, and then brought them back indoors, but yeah, there's nothing happening there. I'm keeping it on the go just in case though. And then at the very bottom, let me bring these out, we have another sowing of lettuce. So there's a variety of lettuce here, as you can see, and they're looking good. I'll let them grow on a little bit more before I prick them out into cells. So as well as these seedlings, I've got a few others. Up in the polytunnel, I have my January sowing of sweet peas, and there's a variety of varieties of sweet pea that are growing on up there now. They were started here and then put out once they were a couple of inches long, a couple of inches tall. So they're out there. Earlier in February I sowed some peas, douche Provence, and again I germinated them here and grew them on a little bit, then put them out in the polytunnel, and both with sweet peas and edible peas I did that just so that they had a chance to grow, because I tried to germinate them and grow them on initially out in the polytunnel. The seeds may well have been eaten by any little rodents passing. Also up in the polytunnel, I've got lettuce. The first lot of lettuce that I sowed in January was Freckles. Also up there are cauliflower. They're called Skipper, and they have been pricked out into 7cm pots, and they're doing well up there. And also up there I have 2 lots of onions that have been grown on, pricked out into cells, and are now up in the polytunnel. So we've got Fasto, which is a yellow onion, and I sowed those on Boxing Day. I sowed another lot of onions on Boxing Day and they did nothing. I got about 2 of them. That was Mammoth Red. So I've just binned them for now, and earlier on this month I sowed some other red. They're called Carmen, and they grew well as well. So we've got Carmen and we've got the Fasto up in the polytunnel now. Okay, so the first herbs that I'm going to be getting started today are chives, and I've got 2 types of chives. I've got the usual nice oniony chives that I couldn't be without actually. I think these are fantastic. I love them in omelettes and in salads, even on sandwiches and so on, and I grow them outside the back door, and it's easy just to pop out, snip a few chives, and yeah, fantastic. And then also garlic chives, so giving that garlicky hint to the chives. Again, really versatile and lovely for using in cooking and in salads and such like. So with these 2, I'll show you me sowing these. I won't show you me sowing everything else because pretty much everything's going to be sown in the same way. But let me just show you how I'm going to sow these, and then I'll go on and chat about the other herbs. Okay, I've got a seed tray here, a 1/4 seed tray. I'm going to sow half with ordinary chives and half with garlic chives. The compost I have in here is actually multi-purpose compost. Seed sowing compost would be absolutely fine as well. The important thing for me is that you make sure you mix through some vermiculite just to aerate the mix and make sure that it retains moisture whilst not getting waterlogged. So let's just take the first packet. This is the garlic chives. Okay, nice little black seeds, the usual for the sort of allium family. And I'm going to try and spread them out a little bit. Now, chives grow really well and give you nice clumps that will, keep going through the year and will come back year on year. So you don't need to go mad with the amount of chives that you sow at all. But I guess if you eat loads of chives or want to give plants away, that's that's cool. So that's the garlic chives in now, and I'll make sure that I label that as such. And now for the ordinary chives. The ordinary chives, they're fantastic, not just ordinary, I would say. There we go. Okay. Get that labelled. And finally, they do want a little bit of covering, so I'm just going to use vermiculite. Now the compost, I should have said, the compost was moist. I'd given it a little water earlier on. But what I'm going to do is just put the rows on my little mini watering can here, and I'm just going to dampen the top as well. Onions don't like being waterlogged. Chives are the same, but you know, obviously we want them to be moist so that the seeds can germinate. So that's these, and these will be going on top of a heat mat. You can just germinate these in your windowsill actually, but I'll pop these on the heat mat. My heat mat's going to be set for around 18 degrees because a number of the other herbs are going to want that temperature as well. Okay, the next herb that I'm going to be growing this February is tarragon. And this is a Russian tarragon, and it's quite a vigorous plant, so it will grow up to maybe 4 feet ultimately, and can spread as wide as 3.5 feet. So it can, you know, give you quite a substantial plant with a lovely aniseedy flavour that is excellent in cooking. And I'll give you a little tip from my culinary side, and that is if you're making leek and potato soup, add a little bit of tarragon to it as you're cooking it, and you know, before you actually blitz it up if you have smooth leek and potato soup, and it is gorgeous, I have to say. So yeah, get some tarragon into your leek and potato soup. It is wonderful. Right, so tarragon is a little bit different, and pretty much the only one that's different to the rest of the herbs that I'm sowing, and that is because it likes light to germinate. So I'm going to put this in a little quarter seed tray, or I'll probably use half of the seed tray, but I'm not going to cover the seeds. So moist compost with vermiculite, pop the seeds on, and then, you know, just firm them down to make sure that they're touching the surface of the compost. And then this is going to go, this needs between 15 and 20 degrees C to germinate. So this will just, you know, the 18 degrees that I'm going to do for most of them will be perfect for the tarragon as well. Okay, next herb that I am going to be growing is basil. Now there's actually a whole host of different basils that you can grow, and I've got some other seeds on order that I haven't actually got yet, but I've got 2 varieties of basil that I'm going to start today. The first one is your bog standard basil, dare I say, the sweet basil, which is beautiful in all sorts of recipes and so on. And I'm going to grow as much basil as I can, because as well as me using it in cooking, the quail love eating basil as well. The chickens not so much, but the quail quite like basil. So I'm going to grow lots of basil plants if I can. I will of course have some of them in with my tomatoes in the polytunnel as well, because they do really well together. So that's the first variety of basil I'm going to grow, and the next variety is one that is a bush basil, and this gives you like a mound of up to 60 centimetres tall of small leaved basil. And I've never grown this one before, but I quite fancied having a bash at that. So I'm going to be sowing some seeds of this bush basil as well. Now I have got some Thai basil and a couple of other basils, as I said, on order, and I'll show those to you when they arrive, and I'm going to sow those. With basil, I will be, well, certainly with the sweet basil, I will be successionally sowing. So I will sow now, and I'll sow again probably towards the end of March, beginning of April, and then another 6 to 8 weeks after that, and so on. And that will keep a supply going, I hope. So that's 3 of the herbs that I'm getting started today. What else am I going to put in? Well, I am also going to sow good old rocket. Rocket is another one that I'm going to sow successionally. Can't have enough rockets. Obviously it's great for using in salads and on sandwiches, etc. It's another one that the quail and the chickens like to eat as well. And when I've got things growing in the garden, I like to every day pick a few nice things and pop them into the quail and the chickens, just to give them a nice variety in their diet and some nice greens to munch on. So yeah, rocket is going to go in, and I'll sow this every 3 or 4 weeks just to get a succession of those going as well. And again, with the basil, just like the basil and the chives, I'll just pop these in a seeds tray and a little covering of vermiculite, and that will get them going. You could just pop these in a pot, the rocket seeds, pop it on your windowsill, but because I've got the heat mats going, I will just use those just to get these kicked off. I will then immediately take them off that heat and get them under lights and grow them on for a while there until they're a little bit bigger and they can cope with either going up into the polytunnel or onto the windowsill. So that's 4 out of the 8 herbs that I'm going to be sowing today. Herb number 5 that I'm going to be sowing is lovage. And lovage isn't necessarily the most common herb that people will think of when they're growing, because it can be really quite large. It can grow to about 1 metre tall. It's related to celery and parsley, and in fact has a sort of celery type flavour to it. So you don't need many lovage plants, but again, I'll eat them, and the feathered friends out in the garden there will eat some as well. So I'm going to get some lovage started. It needs covering, just the same as everything else except for the tarragon, which doesn't need covering, so it's nice and easy to get started. Next, I'm going to be sowing parsley. Now this is a curly parsley. I'll get some flat leaf parsley as well, and I'll start some of that. But this curly parsley will be grown in the same way as everything else. Parsley can be a bit weird to germinate and can take a few weeks even to get going, but we'll hopefully get this started and get some lovely parsley plants, both for the herb garden and dotted around the place, so that we won't be short of that through the year. Okay, herb number 7 that I'm going to be starting today, and that is mint. And I've actually got 3 varieties of mint that I'm going to be starting. Good old peppermint and spearmint. And these can be bullies out in the garden. So if you are growing mint, make sure to grow them in their own pots, or sink a pot with a bottom if you're wanting to put it in a bed somewhere, because it just spreads and spreads and spreads. And I found that out in the middle part of the garden where I created the first growing area. One of the beds sits right on top of what was a clump of peppermint plants, and they keep coming up. I don't mind it because it gives you a nice supply. The bed that it grows in amongst is a brassica bed, and I don't know, I have it in my head that having the mint there just tends to deter slugs, and snails, because I don't get as much slug and snail damage in that bed as I might do in other beds. So I keep it under, under control. I just pull it out, and of course then you've got your own mint to do lovely things with, whether you dry it or make it into teas or whatever, or pop it in mojitos. But I'm going to grow some more. As I say, I've got peppermint and spearmint here. I also am growing, and this is for the first time, it's a mint called Corsican mint. There isn't a picture on that, I'm afraid, but this is has a trailing habit, and it's got quite small leaves, and it's ideal for putting in little sort of rockery type situations, as well as growing in pots, maybe even in a hanging basket. So I'm going to give Corsican mint a try, and it says here that this is the mint that is used in creme de menthe, which is a sort of liqueur, minty liqueur. So it's the Corsican mint that gives that its flavour. Right, finally for today, where my herb sowing is concerned, I am going to be sowing dill. Love dill, nice and versatile, lovely with fish, lovely with potatoes. Yeah, love dill. This is dill that has been sent to me by the lovely Robin from Robin Gardens. And this is one I've not grown before. It is dill ducat. It's not got a picky on, but I'll just show you the name of it there. And this gives a bushy blue-green foliage, I believe. So I'm looking forward to trying that one out. So thanks so much, Robin, for sending me this through, and for sending me through the snapdragons as well. Okay, that's the herbs I'm going to sow this month. I'd love to hear what you're going to sow where herbs are concerned. Pop something in the comments below. It'd be interesting to hear what you're going to start sowing now. Okay, I think I've got my work cut out now. I'm going to get these seeds all sown and get them through onto the heat mat and get them germinating, hopefully. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up, and I will talk to you again very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.